Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, this moderately recovering from COVID man right here. This is Tim, and this is the Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, after Christmas and Thanksgiving for that matter, we've got so many things, guys. We've got adoption rates that are really abysmal in Illinois. We got to talk to you about for assault weapon bans. We've got every time for gun safety, begging and pleading, and then letting the cat out of the bag. And then we have a G3, which Tim is going to make you smile from ear to ear. And that is what we have for you guys. So make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And with that, Tim, I think it's fair to say you're not perfect, but you're here. You showed up.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad because last week I was cracking jokes about the Wuhan Weezer, and then Friday I got the Wuhan Weezer, and I've been busy wheezing.
See that? From the Wuhan Weezer. You know what would have helped that, Tim? I heard on the street.
What's that, a mask?
The Fauci ouchie.
Oh, the Fauci ouchie. I didn't know if it was tampons in the men's room or if it was the Fauci ouchie, but I'm sure there's some cure for it. I just didn't know which one.
I think it was definitely the latter. I don't think the previous would have any outcome in that. But I'm glad your spirits are still up. You just sound very Wuhan wheezy. But that's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this.
I'll try not to hack into the microphone. It's
yeah. No, if you do, I'll see it happening and I'll just start talking. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic.
And Mr. Button Pusher can just mute my mic. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just mute you. I'll just start rambling. And when I tell you stop coughing, you just pick up where you left off. I love it.
Sounds good.
Well, Tim, I think this is something that we need to bring attention to. I do, because you know what's coming right around the corner, Tim? January 1st.
I was going to say New Year's.
You know the significance of January 1st?
Yeah, it's the first of the year.
Well done. Glad to see you're sharp as a tack.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Yes, you got that. You nailed it. It's also something else, Tim. In addition to the new year, it's also the registration requirement deadline. The deadline for Illinois, Tim.
Yep.
How do you think it's going over there?
I'm going to go ahead and guesstimate that less than 5% compliance. No, make it 3%. Less than 3% compliance. How close am I?
Okay. Well, there is a 3 in it. So we'll get to that in 1 second. But let me just bring the people in here. So Dr. Button Pusher, well, first of all, I got to make sure you're good. Did you recover from the holidays?
Good day, sir.
All right. Good. We're kicking. We're cruising. Everyone's banging on like 2 out of 5 cylinders. So here's what happened, Tim. This was on Friday before Christmas. And a lot of people may not have known this, but check this out. It's number 1. A federal judge in the Metro East declines to delay the Illinois gun registration deadline. Okay. So that means that it was being pushed to be pushed backwards. You know, there's a lot of different things, like they don't have rules in place. They pulled a Measure 114 and they weren't ready for the gun control dreams that they put forward. But it turns out there's something else was uncovered over this, which I think is extremely fascinating. So now, if you, of course, have been following this, and anybody on the Second Press would, this is number 3. The decision means that Illinoisans have a little more than a week to file endorsement affidavits on the state police website if they own guns or accessories subject to the ban. Now, this is the assault weapons ban, of course, Tim. And this was actually written right before Christmas. So really, there's like 4 more days. Okay, so that's important, Tim, because 4 more days. I bet you, just like J.B. Pritzker said, they're just procrastinating. It's okay. I personally, myself, when there's a hot pocket, I wait for it to cool down.
There's going to be a Fauci ouchie line all the way around the registration building, right? Everybody's just going to show up at an hour before the deadline expires, and they're all going to going to sit in their cars and register through the windows with their masks on.
Exactly. Yes. Dude, nailed it. You got the mask, you got the Fauci ouchie, you got the Wuhan Weezer, but nothing will come between us and our registration because we are responsible citizens. Or we're getting to that in 1 second. So listen to this, and I think this is so fascinating as we build this up. This is number 4. This is what the main guy who put forward this assault weapons ban in Illinois said about this. Check this out. Quote, "The gun lobby had been hoping the courts would salvage their access to weapons of war, but the Illinois assault weapon ban is here to stay and will reduce the gun violence in which we become so numb." Small question, asking for a friend, guy in the back. They know this doesn't ban guns that they already have in circulation, right?
No,
they know that, right?
It's quite You register them, you can keep them for now. We know where registration goes, but this is just like the 94 assault weapons ban. It's purely an emotional thing, right? It's like this is so they can go out there and say, "Look what we did." It didn't accomplish anything. Matter of fact, think about this, folks. we've cited the FBI statistics many, many times on this channel. And the FBI statistics tell us that about less than 500 rifles of any type are used or misused in crime in the United States every year. Less than 500 of any type of rifle. Now, you distill that down, and those that might fall into the assault weapons category, depending on how the left wants to define that today, there's maybe 100 or less assault weapons, by their definition, that are misused in crime nationally. Now, distill that down to Illinois. How many assault weapons do you think are used in crime in Illinois? Right?
Yeah.
A handful. And this is what all this hoopla is about. We're going to save lives. We saved 10 people by denying you your rights.
Exactly. It's like, and after all, Tim, they're going to save the rights. They're going to save the lives by curtailing the rights, because magazines, extended magazines, large capacity, Tim, magazines, and assault weapons are the bane of existence and cause all the problems. So in our sweeping assault weapons ban, you get to keep them.
Yeah, we're going to save lives. You can keep them. Just tell us you got them. And then, of course, the crime goes away.
It's so weird.
It's just, it's
so odd.
It's just like the arguments I get into with the antis that always tell me that we just need another assault weapons ban like the 94 ban. And I come back and say, you understand, it didn't ban anything except cosmetics. That's not true. Exactly. And then I show them pictures. They're like, that's not true. Well, then we just need to ban them all. I mean, it is so funny. They don't even understand what they're advocating for. They don't even know what they've done in the past, but they're going to jump right out there and tell you, you know what the most effective legislation in the history of man was? It was the assault weapons ban of 94. Didn't ban anything, and there's no evidence it did anything for crime one way or the other. But hey, it was awesome.
I thought it was the war on drugs. I thought that was the best one.
Yeah, that
was
80s.
A good one. Yeah. That really worked. Yeah, I blame you.
Yeah.
that one worked. War on poverty, war on crime. It's like war on inanimate things. Like you can't put a tangible finger on, just don't work. Very weird. Anyway, that's another story for another time. But yeah, Tim, I think we put a fine point on that. Now look at some of these numbers. This is number 5 coming out of the deep state of Illinois. The registration requirement for residents who own banned guns as of last January 10th has met stiff resistance, although the degree of compliance is not possible to nail down. Well, let's take a gander here. The registration began on October 1, and since then, 8,143 gun owners have registered nearly 16,000 guns and some accessories. That's as of the 21st of December. Well, I'm not a mathematician, but we're 4 days away from January 1st, and you're sitting at 8,000 in the entire state. Well, what does that actually translate to? Because maybe there's only 17,000 guns in the entire state, Tim.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Well, it turns out you were so prescient, and you knew the number of registrants represents around 0.34% of the 2.4 million people.
0.3. I moved that decimal over accidentally.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You nailed a 3. You nailed it. You just felt it. Yeah, it was good. But yeah, 0.34% of 2.4 million people. Now, someone pointed out earlier in one of my videos on this same topic is it makes sense that it's not every single FOID holder. I get it. They all don't have it. It's still 0.34%.
You know what? Here's another thing I found interesting about these numbers as you read them off, because again, this is my first time seeing them is this morning. Yeah. And what is one of the shticks, one of the lines that the anti-gunners love to throw in our face? It's not that when you say that gun sales are going up, they like to say, well, it's not new gun owners, it's the existing gun owners just hoarding guns. Is that true? Really? So we have 8,143 gun owners that registered 15,900 guns. I'm not a mathematician either, but that sounds about like, on average, about 2 guns per register.
I mean,
about 1,600 or 600 or even 100. 2 guns.
That's so weird.
So
I thought they had 500 each. I mean, I thought.
I know they had 15,000. 2 gun owners registered 15,000 guns.
Exactly. That's it. Because those gun fetish, freedom loving, evil people.
The point in all this is everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie, a fabrication, or an outright lie.
Yeah. And you know, the thing that's interesting about this, Tim, and I think this is the really big story here. You know, the one thing that governments throughout all history have relied upon is complete compliance upon their edicts, right? And if no one listens to you because you don't have credibility, and this is not just government, this is also corporate, this is any type of leadership position, church, school board, whatever. If no one listens to you because there's no credibility, you have 2 choices. You either wipe it under the rug, similar to the bans that were in. What state was that? Was that Connecticut or was that Vermont? I don't think it was Vermont.
Connecticut, if you're talking about
mag bans.
Yeah. Well, Colorado had the mag ban. Connecticut did the assault weapons ban that nobody complied with. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, that was the one I was talking about. Connecticut. So you either just accept defeat, lick your wounds, and ignore that it ever happened and don't bring it up again, or you clamp down and you start making people into felons. And if they do that number, because I have a funny feeling that Illinois would lean in that direction. They've got so many lawsuits coming. Like, you talk about amping up an AR ban. Yeah, put some people in felony convictions where you actually have real consequences and real injury beyond just this is unconstitutional. Yeah. You guys trying to lose?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just my thought.
And tensions are high enough in the United States right now, politically.
No.
And then you throw in this whole thing where the antis just want to turn, half of America into felons overnight. You're really pushing pretty hard against something I don't think any of us really want. So I wish they'd stop. But
right.
They're not. So
I also wish they would stop. But you know what? I also wish I could have a toilet seat made of solid gold. Probably not going to happen. But dude, I think that you just hit on something as we wrap that segment. They're pushing for something, and they're pushing so hard. And I think this is an interesting point to bring up as we wrap this. I've never seen them push this hard with this much rhetoric and vitriol before. Like, they've always had, here's my talking points. They've always gone down the road of we need these bans. They've always gone down the policy road. But the vitriol and the rhetoric and the just intensity of which they are applying, that is something to note. Like, it's a different thing.
I think it probably has something to do with the fact of the current political situation. They have pretty close to a majority in, the House, the Senate. I mean, they're just a few seats off in the House. They technically have the majority in the Senate, and then they have the White House. And they're scared of this next election. I think that they're fearful that if Biden doesn't get reelected, that their gun control hopes will be dashed for another 4 years, if not more.
Oh, and so not another 4 years.
They're feeling the heat, I think, with the election rapidly approaching, and they're just becoming desperate. They got to get it done and on the president's desk before the next election cycle. Otherwise, they fear that they're going to be another 4 to 8 years from ever having a crack at it again.
It totally could be. I mean, honestly, it totally could be. And by the way, guys, I'm just going to throw this out there, Tim. If it does come to be 4 to 8 years, we are going to push the ball so far in the opposite direction that they have to do the exact same reclaim ground. I'm just letting you know. We're going to push it so far.
I hope people finally realize that that's what we need to be doing, because they didn't do it during 16 to 20. They just sat on their hands.
Nope. Sat on their hands. But not this time. Not today, Satan. Not today. And with that, speaking of a transition into Everytown for gun safety, Tim, it's for the children. It's for the children.
It's always for the children. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's all for the children. Well, it turns out sometimes they need to proofread their press releases and their amicus briefs that they send to SCOTUS, because I want to read a few things to you about this friend of the court document that they sent against bump stock bans, because I think that this is a very interesting observation, because there's something that keeps popping up. So this is from right before Christmas, and I wanted to get your take on it. Here's the actual article that they announced on Everytown for gun safety. Leading gun safety groups urge SCOTUS to uphold bump stock ban. Now, before we even get into it, Tim, they told us bump stocks were done. They were dead. They were machine guns. It was over. It was a piece of cake. Sixth Circuit said no. Fifth Circuit said yes. It's crazy. We're good, right?
Yep.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Weird. I thought it was like a wrapped up little enchilada ready for consumption. But it turns out they're sending amicus briefs in Garland versus Cargill, which is the bump stock ban. So let me just read a few of these things here real quick. This is number 8. Today, 4 of the nation's leading gun violence prevention organizations, Giffords, Brady, Everytown, and March for Our Lives, filed an amicus brief before the U.S. Supreme Court, urging the court to uphold the federal bump stock ban in Garland versus Cargill. Okay, so what I'm about to show you is a few of the statements from the actual people involved in these organizations, and you tell me if something sounds very familiar, because I think that you will. Let's go to the chief legal officer of Brady, again, signed into this letter. Quote, bump stocks pose a unique, pernicious threat to our society. The threat these deadly devices pose can turn any American gathering, whether it be a concert, a parade, or a community festival, into a war zone. Here we go. With a bump stock, a civilian can have access to what is essentially a machine gun exponentially increasing the lethality of already dangerous arms. What stands out there, Tim?
It's all one big lie. It doesn't convert anything into a machine gun.
I mean, obviously, but the word they use, Tim, play along.
I don't know. You tell me what word they
essentially
use.
Tim, essentially, because bump stocks are supposed to be machine guns. If it's essentially a machine gun, that means it's not a machine gun.
They just admitted it's
right
not.
In a letter to the SCOTUS. I find that so odd.
You'd think that a high-powered attorney would know better than that. Jeez.
You would think. No, this isn't the pie. This is just the chief legal officer. Wait till I show you what the attorney said. You're going to love every minutia of this one. But yeah, so essentially. Well, now let's go down. Let's just keep on trucking because I think this is a good one too. This is number 13. Bump stocks enable shooters to mimic the rapid firing capabilities of automatic weapons, essentially turning semi-automatic weapons into machine guns. Wait, mimic the rapid fire capability?
So they doubled down on stupid. They went with mimic and essentially.
That's so odd. Yeah, because you're mimicking it.
That one I
which means
caught.
It's not.
Mimic. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, yeah, you need to pay attention to your essentials. It's the Wuhan Weezer. That's what it is. You're just a little fuzzy.
I got COVID brain. Yeah.
You got COVID brain. Exactly. That's what it is. The Fauci ouchie gotcha.
There's no Fauci ouchie here.
Mimic. Oh, don't you say that. You are not safe. Don't you say that. You are
natural immunity, baby. Natural immunity.
They will come for you. Oh my, you were just tripling down. You were like these people. Good Lord.
I forgot my mask this morning. Am I threatening your life?
You are. I feel uncomfortable.
Face diapers upstairs. Dang it.
Anyway. I know it's worse. I hate it when I do that. What'd you say to previous segment? No, never mind. I'm not asking that question. Withdrawn, sir. And now, Tim, this is me. That was the rumble strips we just felt and bumped into. Yes. We're back on the road now. That's the famous rumble strips. That's right. This is what the lawyer said. You're going to love every moment of this. Quote, "It was a privilege to represent Giffords Brady, Everytown for Gun Safety, and March for Our Lives in this important matter. Congress has spoken clearly in banning machine guns and forbidding efforts to evade the ban with technical contrivances." What?
So they tripled down on stupid.
Yeah. With technical contrivances.
They just can't help themselves but calling out the fact that it's not a machine gun.
Exactly. Isn't that weird, Tim? How all of this whole letter and all of these people who are pushing for the bump stock ban to be enacted based off the principle that it's a machine gun, and they told us it was a machine gun, and they argued in circuit court that it was a machine gun, are saying in a SCOTUS approved letter to the amicus to the SCOTUS, the people who will be deciding this, they're telling you it's not a machine gun, but they're arguing it's a machine gun.
Right. It's not a machine gun, but let's go ahead and treat it like a machine gun. Oh, and by the way, let's go ahead and let the ATF ban things willy-nilly under Chevron deference and just write laws and make them up out of whole cloth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not an issue here either. You know, it's...
No. It's really enjoyable for me to watch them do this in real time and be like, oh, you did it. Oh, you did it. I can't believe you did it. It's literally the whole point of their argument is machine guns are bad, but these aren't machine guns, but they're like machine guns, but they are machine guns. I mean, the cyclical logic.
I hope that pops in the eyes of at least one justice.
It has to.
I would hope so.
It has to.
And if not, I hope that the attorneys representing the pro-gun side are quick to point this out to the justices. I just hope that they go, look at this, and look at this. It'd be like, ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so weird because even in the body of the letter, I mean, if I go to 9, going back to the main body, I just showed you previous what the officer said. This is the same thing. They duplicated it for the 4th time, or they replicated it for the 4th time, rather. This is something that prohibited the production, sale, and possession of bump stocks, devices whose sole purpose is to enable semi-automatic firearms to fire like machine gun. Like
not as if it.
Are you guys trying
as a machine gun? Like if it were
like
maybe
a machine gun,
kind of, sort of, you know.
In summation, Tim, let me just run this back. We've got like a machine gun, mimic a machine gun, essentially machine gun, and technical contrivances.
Yep.
Guys,
that's impressive.
You're doing it wrong. You are overtly doing it wrong. But please continue.
Yeah, just step back and let your enemies do these things. I mean, this is pretty epic. I can't believe if this gets called out in court, if these attorneys still have a job afterwards, and I hope that they do because these are excellent attorneys. they're probably going to lose their jobs. I mean, oh my goodness, if this were my attorney and I read this brief, I'd be like, yeah, can you go before the court and tell them I need a new attorney, please? We got to stop this right here.
It's just, it speaks to so many, to me, it speaks to two things on two different levels. One, it speaks to the manipulation of the higher up gun controlling elements. I think that's a big part of this. But then the other part of this is it speaks to the lack of knowledge of what they're actually trying to do. Like, if you don't even know, it's that old adage, you're either stupid or you're ignorant and both are bad. Which one do you want to be?
Right.
It's like you're defeating your own point. And you're talking to the SCOTUS. I can just see Clarence Thomas going, you said it was a machine gun. Yes, yes, Your Honor, it is a machine gun. Then why does it say it's essentially a machine gun? Does that not mean it's not a machine gun?
A machine gun,
it's mimicking machine, but I thought it was... It's just, it's so laughable. But speaking of laughable, Tim, you know what time it is?
It's time for the Goofy Gun Grabbers, yes.
It's G3 time. Take it away.
All right. So, well, Christmas was an interesting time, and I was in bed, and I was watching what people were tweeting. Of course, the gun grabbers couldn't give it a break the entire Christmas break. I thought that was interesting, but then I saw some other stuff that was really, really interesting. And here we have John P., because I'll butcher his last name, Pavlovitz, something like that. But I follow him on Twitter.
I think you nailed it. I think you got it.
Pavlovitz. It's double rolling those two, the AVOV thing. But anyway, so old John is a self-proclaimed pastor, and he just loves attacking other Christians because he doesn't feel that they're Christian enough for his tastes. But he also likes to talk about guns. And here he made a post over the Christmas holidays saying that guns are a national cancer. And see, this is this is interesting because this is something that the left and the anti-gunners have been pushing for a long time. It's the guns. We see memes saying, it's the guns. It's the guns. Guns are cancer.
And the leaders scream it too.
Right? Oh, yeah. And so my response to him was kind of to the point. And my response includes, for decades, the national violent crime rate has gone down despite the fact that gun sales have continued to break records. Meanwhile, when you look at the Democrat-controlled areas of our nation and the associated crime rates, you'll see a trend. Yep, it's the Democrats,
nice touch.
Not the guns. And
nice touch at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, if you overlay that map of the United States down there, where there's two maps of the states next to each other, what that's basically showing is red are the Republican-controlled areas of the country, and the blue are the Democrat-controlled areas of the country. And then it shows in the other map, the hot spots in red happen to overlay with the blue spots. So political affiliation versus crime, when you overlay them, all the crime is happening in the blue areas. Why would that be? Is it the guns or is it the policies of the lunatics that turn criminals free and don't prosecute criminals for their acts? I mean, another tweet I thought was so wild is somebody posted, like, now they're locking up the paint cans. And they posted a picture of some store somewhere that had spray paint behind locked doors in the cages. And I said to them, it's like, well, they're putting the products in cages because they won't put the criminals in cages.
Right. Something's got to go in a cage.
Something's going in a cage.
Something's going to get a cage.
They can't seem to get this through their heads.
That's true. And those other graphs here, because I know you, and I don't even dive into all these. I bet you money that one of those graphs is the declining crime rate, and one of those graphs is the increase in gun ownership rate. Yes. Am I right?
Yeah. So the graph right above the American, the United States, I should say, the map of the United States, right above that graph shows the downward trend. We've showed it here before on the channel before of the crime rate. So starting in the 90s, it started plummeting, and all the way up to present times, it continues to trend downward. Excuse me. And then on the other graph, that is showing the increase in gun sales and ownership in the United States. Interesting, huh?
That's weird.
More guns, less crime.
I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm not. But I would say that seems to correlate to itself. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems pretty convincing. All right. So moving on to the next one. This is fun. So one thing I've noticed on X is that the gun grabbers are just getting ratioed over and over again. Every time they post some tripe, there's very few people that agree with them. They're almost always getting beat about the head and shoulders with their propaganda, and nobody's buying it. But they continue to post for some reason. I don't know why they just go over the threads.
They have to. Yeah, they're committed.
I guess. Well, I think it's because Twitter's paying them. And of course, they do get a lot of traffic because folks like myself and others are always mocking them, which sends them traffic, which generates revenue for them. But that's the unfortunate downside.
3,800 is not a lot.
No, I don't think they're getting rich off it. They might be making $40, but I mean, I'm sure that's important too. I don't know. There's some reason they stick around and take the beating, but they're getting tired of the beating because if you take a look at number 16, Doc, if you throw that up for us, moms demand action. No parent should ever endure the pain of losing or having a child taken or wounded by gun violence. But for Krista Gwynn, and it goes on and makes this post, right? But it's not the content of the post that I'm talking about here. If you go to the very bottom, look what they've done. Who can reply? Accounts that mom demand action follows or mentioned can reply. So while they're posting their propaganda, they don't want to hear from you. We're just going to post our propaganda. So instead of just
because who doesn't love
instead of just going away
and having nothing to do.
Yeah.
It would be like us. That would be like us turning off our comments on our YouTube channels and just being like, and that's the way it is. See you on the next one.
I know.
You can't do that.
We don't care what you think. Here's your daily dose of propaganda. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting because this is not the only gun grabbing account that does this.
No.
Newtown Alliance does it. A lot of brands that are aligned to the gun control, they put out extremely vitriolic posts and they just no comments, no nothing, only my friends. So it's like, okay, listen, I want everyone to have their opinion. I may not agree with you. I obviously don't agree with you in this case, but if you're just going to create your own echo chamber because you're getting that much resistance, maybe you're not achieving what you're trying to pitch us that you're all achieving.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy on the internet.
But in the same vein of all this, what's kind of interesting, the old New Mexico gun violence prevention group that was out there illegally transferring guns to students at schools.
We got to do a video on that follow-up. We got to do a video.
Well, they've been on a blocking spree. Everybody that reposted their acts, they've blocked us all. Everybody's posting the images of them being blocked. Just everybody that pointed out the hypocrisy and their lawlessness. They've all been blocked. And I don't know what they think they're doing there because they're under some heat. We know there's some sort of an investigation, whether or not somebody's actually convicted or charged with anything. I doubt that ever happens. But I think that they actually think that they can get away with posting their propaganda, continuing to break the laws that they advocate for. But if they just ban us, then they won't get in any more trouble because nobody will be able to see their acts. I guess he didn't realize that I can create another account, which I have, and I can still see their posts and I can still mock them and bring attention to their stupidity.
And you know what else? You know what else, Tim? They didn't take into account. We send Dr. Button Pusher in, and they don't even know who that is.
They don't know.
The secret agent, Dr. Button Pusher. We can send him in. We've got assets.
But
we got sleeper cells on the X.
Do not come.
Oh no.
Do not come.
Trump had something to say to that.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No? Okay, we still can't. Okay. Someday we'll get that second clip played. All right, folks.
I'm going to come.
All right. Well,
this is why
it was nice being on YouTube.
This is why we can't get over the 27-minute mark because we always do something that's going to get us in trouble.
Yep. Well, it was fun being on YouTube for the last year.
It was a good run.
It was a good run.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.